Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Early Birds podcast. And we are still in the beautiful small town here in the Youngstown area of Ohio, interviewing today one of our leaders here at the organization, leading the charges. Brad, how are you doing today, sir?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast, the Early Birds podcast, where this is all about your journey, all about the vision, how you got here, how you got into this space, and just want people to know who you are and how you put yourself in the mindset to lead the charges here from the mortgage side of it. So I'll jump right into it. You are 26 years old, right? Obviously, I don't think you had the expectations of being in the mortgage industry. Is that fair to say?
That is a really fair statement.
So how did it start for you?
Yeah. So I guess a little bit of background on myself, all through high school and how I pretty much set myself up for college was wanting to be in the golf industry. I played golf all growing up. I started when I was about 10 years old. Played in a lot of junior tournaments, actually a lot of local junior tournaments here in the Youngstown area. There's still a lot of great golf courses. And all through high school, that's how I, wanted to set myself up for the future, was to be in the golf industry and eventually be able to run my own golf shop. But ultimately, golf in the Northeast Ohio, golf in general is it's a little different industry. And I realized that I love playing golf, but didn't really care to work into it. And I was an accounting minor all through college and loved numbers, loved dealing with numbers. And actually, I reached out to a few folks, said, hey, I'm looking for a different career change. And someone said, well, ever thought about writing loans, doing mortgages? I'm like, never put myself in that position, never thought myself to be in a sales position. But after, consulting with some friends, consulting with some family, I realized that it's the kind of the leap that I wanted to take. And here we are 3.5 years later, absolutely loving what I do every day.
So that I know a couple of things I'm going to kind of bring out for the viewers at home. But one of the things I want to touch base on is, first and foremost, I know not anymore, not as much, but you were a scratch golfer, right?
I was, yes.
So for the viewers at home that don't understand what that means, basically my man here is pretty good at what he does. And obviously you've built that competitive spirit, and that's tied into the mortgage industry. Discipline is what I think about, especially when it comes to golfers, and the consistency and the persistence in doing the same thing literally over and over and over again.
Definitely.
How did that translate into where you're at today? And more importantly, how did you manage all of that while working through college?
It was tough. It was tough. Honestly, I've always considered myself a fairly organized person. I was always, all through high school, I kind of had a set schedule. I knew when golf practice was, even if it wasn't a mandated practice. I kind of had myself on a routine. And honestly, my routine is what got me through college and got me through everything that I was doing, especially maintaining a scratch level play. And I actually did play in a few local pro tournaments for a brief period when I was still got out of college. But I think it's really just routine, and sticking with that is what got me through all of it, really.
It's so fascinating too, because obviously you were playing golf at a high level, and we've interviewed so many people, and specifically, a lot of previous athletes, that obviously that consistency and staying dialed in. So let me ask you this question: getting into mortgage space from golf, there are two routes I feel like people take if a potential opportunity or dream doesn't pan out, right?
Yeah.
They either take the approach of okay, woe is me, now what do I do? Or they take the approach of, let me grab the bull by the horns and let me go figure something else out. What was it like for you getting into that mindset of, all right, it's not going to be golf, so I got to figure something else to do? And how do you keep yourself positive in that mindset?
Yeah, honestly, just mentality and what I grew up in. So quick insight a little bit to my personal life and my family. My father is he's self-employed. He owns his own construction business here locally. He's worked with us on a lot of different projects. And he actually didn't graduate high school. He actually took himself he realized school wasn't for him, and he said, I want to do my own thing and open my own business. And he's been running his own business for, I'm 26, so probably about 29, 30 years. And that mentality of growing up, he always said, you work for what you want and work for what you believe in. And that's just really his mentality and how he brought me up. So translating that into the mortgage space, when I do something, I do it 100%. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I was brought up. So I realized golf wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I was doing it 100%, just wasn't for me. So once I was presented with this opportunity and once I took it, it's 110%. And I've been ever since, 3.5 years later, I just do it 110%. It's the way I was raised.
Man, it's the common trend here in this city that I'm learning about, this blue collar grit community that just finds a way to figure it out. No excuse mentality. And I want to just talk a little bit about the family, if that's okay. Your husband, father, obviously, at 26 years old, managing all of that. But also you're there, you're present, you're relevant in the life of the family, which can be so difficult sometimes, especially in our industry when it's a literally 24/7 type of situation. How has that kind of changed and altered the way you have to maneuver each and every single day, where you have to maintain that relationship there, you got to maintain work, you got to maintain the family? How you turn that into something that you can manage?
So honestly, for me, it was eye-opening to realize that really how valuable my time is. Just thinking and how valuable my time is to everybody in my family, my friends, my job, my career. I call it my career, not my job. Really, it's just really got to do it. Just maintain the schedule, and that's it. The big thing for me is routine and schedule, and then making sure that I put on my schedule, just for, example, just my wife's birthday is actually today, February 27th.
Happy birthday, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
And on Friday, I literally wrote off my schedule that I wanted to spend time with her to celebrate her birthday. And I just, at 3:59, I cut off for my day, and I, put it towards my wife. But at the same time, and honestly, my wife, she's my rock with everything. She's been my support through everything. When we moved to Florida, a little tangent here, when we moved to Florida to pursue my career in golf, she picked up everything she had and she moved down there with me. So she understands that, I got to work weekends. I got to work outside the hours. So her allowing me to have that flexible schedule when she knows that I'm going to commit my time to her is really what gets me through it all.
It's the expectation piece, right? And the priorities. And, I'll never, it's so incredible. Yesterday we're sitting there at the event, and something you said that is so, people don't even think about it, where you said, hey, I told my wife, because you got the baby at home, just all you got to do is call me or shoot me a text. And it's like you've set that expectation, which has allowed you to navigate through certain situations, because I don't know, right? But I'm sure it's not easy to raise a child, right? Figure out this, manage that. She works as well on top of it for both of you there. So to me, it's just so intriguing. And I always tell people this, you talked about the priorities, and that's one of the things I do struggle with personally. It is hard for me sometimes to prioritize certain things, but it's so important to do so because I do care. And it's not that I don't care, but gosh, if you don't communicate that to your loved ones, it starts to feel that way, right? When someone's not reaching out to you. And so how do you navigate through that? It's like you need to find a way to communicate. And some people might say, oh, that's silly. Like, why are you playing? To me, that's not silly. To me, that's so important to where you just have to be so cognizant of it. Yeah. So you don't put yourself in that situation. And that's that discipline that I assume has just come from you building, your life and who you're going to be just over the years.
Yeah.
Watching your dad facilitate what he's done for your entire life, what has that taught you about the entrepreneurship lifestyle and how that can really set yourself up to do something special?
Well, actually, a lot of how I structure my life now with being a new dad and being a husband, all of which happened within, 18 months or so, it's how he handled running his business. He was always, I'm not going to sleep until 8, 9 o'clock, even if it's a Sunday. He was always up at 5:30 in the morning. And he always joked, he was always sitting in the parking lot at Home Depot at 6 a.m. waiting for them to open the doors. So how he ran he was always there for all my golf tournaments. He was always there for anything related to school. He made sure that he scheduled time out of his day to make sure he prioritized his family. But he's running a business, so he knows that there's going to be, if he's got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning because he knows he's got to be at an event at 4 o'clock for one of my golf matches, he always made sure he scheduled that time. So honestly, the way he ran his business and how he ran his just livelihood when we were going up is how I really want to model, and how I do model, and really how I just structure and handle most of everything that's coming at me.
You have an incredible role model, it sounds like, but you also took the information and did something with it. Yeah, there are so many times where you see people that have that opportunity, but they don't pay attention and they go down a different path of like blaming, right? And the thing that you said that really stands out, and somebody said this recently, and it's just been stuck in my head. You talked about his time and how valuable it was, and he didn't have time to lose. And on Sundays, he'd be up regardless, be at Home Depot right at 6. And somebody said this, and they said, look, if you want to go out for drinks, no problem. Go out, have a fun night for drinks. But just remember, you still have to worry about tomorrow. And if you continue to do that every day, you still have to worry about tomorrow consistently. And that starts to add up, and you start to lose that time that you truly cannot get back. And life to me is so much about that perspective. And I think time is the biggest part of that perspective is, are you effectively managing and navigating your life, leveraging the time that you have? And so what would you say to somebody that's 26 years old, right? Not in the position that you're in necessarily. I don't want to use the word lost, but maybe they're still navigating to figure out what they want to do. Where would someone like that even start to figure out what kind of journey or path they want to be on? What kind of advice would you give that person?
So I actually had a friend that he's a little bit younger than me, who's still kind of figuring out what he wants to do in life. And honestly, a big thing is, it's hard. A lot of people have struggled to do it, is really just reflect and put down what you want on a piece of paper. So sit down, have some full reflection time, think about where you've been, wherever you're at in life. If you're 26 years old, what do you enjoy doing? Write down what you enjoy doing, and make sure that whatever your next step is includes what you enjoy doing. So like for me, I enjoy golf. I love golf. Moving into this, I love dealing with numbers, and I love helping people. So getting to help people reach the American dream of owning a home is really super rewarding, fulfilling. And there was a time when I sat down, and maybe I didn't put it on paper at that time, but at least reflected before I reached what got into this opportunity. What do I enjoy? What do I like to do? And how do I move on? Like I was being in the golf industry as an assistant pro and a pro, I was teaching. I was doing a lot of teaching the people of the game. So how can I translate what I enjoy doing there, teaching, to what I'm doing here, teaching people financial literacy, how to buy a home, how to prepare for that. So many instances of just rewarding moments, but so bringing it full circle, I would say, make sure whatever your next step is, make sure you enjoy what you're going to do.
Man, you're spot on. I was listening to a psychologist, and one of the things he was talking about is like how to find a potential purpose. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to do, but it's in line with exactly what you said. He said, listen, spend a week basically overviewing yourself and be very cognizant of it. He said, pay very close attention for that entire week, journal, entry, everything. He said, there's going to be points in your day where you're loving what you're doing, and you noticing your brain is so dialed in. Yeah. And he's like, pay attention to that and figure out a way to maneuver your day and what you want to do around what you're actually enjoying throughout that week. And it's fascinating because that's very in line with what you're saying. But to hear a psychologist say it and tie it back to you, it's like it's exactly spot on with what science tells us on how to find that potential purpose. Now, you're in the small town here, right? And everybody knows everybody, which I'm learning, which is so fascinating. Lots of your clients are part of the community, parts of the small town. And so you're spending even extra time, extra effort to make everything work and smooth transactions, because it is real estate at the end of the day. Yeah. And Murphy's Law, right? Whatever can go wrong will be wrong. Always. Will go wrong. That's our industry, unfortunately. But you take so much time doing your due diligence up front. What has that been like building this business that you have here in the small town, working with people that you actually know and you see?
Yeah. So again, kind of just being able to pull a lot from the golf industry, and really I learned so much in that space. A lot of the clients I've been able to help were actually, members of the courses that I worked at, or actually, children and grandchildren of those folks. So being able to thrive on those connections. And actually just the other day I had one young lady call me, and unfortunately her mother had passed away. So they needed help with some estate planning. She had a house, it was all free and clear. They're like, well, what do we do? We need to sell it. I know your mortgages, but how can you help? So, we had a good half-hour conversation of, this is what I think you should do, reach out to this person, and just being able to help. There's no loan in it for me, there's no commission, but being in the position I am, and knowing the folks that I do, and just that mentality of everyone knows everyone, everyone helps everyone. Honestly, I mean, if you were broke down in the middle of Youngstown, I guarantee you there's going to be 10 people over the course of 10 minutes that are going to stop and say, hey, do you need help? It's just that mentality of being able to help everyone. And of course, there's scenarios where we can't help everybody, but I'm always going to do my absolute 110% best to be able to help anyone in our area or outside our area.
You know, and the part that I love about that is the part that people don't understand is, regardless of the age, you've taken on that responsibility and that role, and you don't take it lightly. I've been doing this for 10 years, started at 21 myself, and that's something that you don't think about. Now I look back on it where it's like, wait a second, you have these folks that are business professionals, some of them for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're sitting there talking to you and looking for advice. Like, hey, what do I do? Where do I go? And it's so easy to take that for granted. And it's not something that you have taken for granted, because you're constantly embracing, you know, what your job is and what you want, what kind of purpose do you have?
Yeah.
Where do you find that purpose?
That's a really, really good question. And this is honestly just, I mean, my purpose now, you know, with being a new father stuff is continually evolving, but at the root of it, my purpose is always to help people in any sort of fashion. You know, people call me all the time. Actually, I had a client, they was a single mom. She needed help with moving. I own a truck, and I said, well, you're moving into my hometown. I have a truck that's empty in the back. I want to go help you move some stuff. And no joke, this was just last summer. I helped this young lady move some stuff from her house, which was about 40 minutes away. I did one load and move it down. It's just, my purpose has always been to help people and do the best that I can. Really, it is.
Man, that's so inspiring. You just got a huge smile on my face right now, because you just don't see that, right? Where it's like, and it's a constant theme here, where it's like the giving back, it just comes back full circle. And that one person now, her overview of you as a human being is absurd. Absurd, right? She's like, who is this guy? 40, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now it's like, you're going to get that constant referral base, right? And more importantly than that, anytime she talks about you, it's going to be in the best light possible. And that's the thing I try to talk to people about all the time. It's like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? It's because, God willing, you know, when I get to look back on my life one day, I'm going to have so many supporters of me that go, that's just a good person. Forget my work, forget everything else that I'm doing. I want people to look at me and go, that's a good human being. He doesn't do wrong by people. He tries to do the best. Yes, I have flaws. Yes, I make mistakes, but I try to fix them the best that I can. And you're really spending time trying to navigate, facilitate, and go through all of that. Yeah. So let me ask you this question. When walking into the mortgage space, right? I just want to talk about the mindset just a little bit and the nuances, just for those at home that have no idea what the space is. As honest as you can be, something you love, something you hate about our space.
Oh,
I know it's a tough one.
First of all, my first month in this business, I was scared as hell. and I happened to come in at a time I had 6 months under my belt, and then the rates just bottomed out, and I went from smooth sailing, how to learn the business, to, yeah, here's 20 files on your desk, start working. I'm like, oh my gosh. But the one thing that I love, and unfortunately this is going to be a super common theme, is
no problem,
is being able to help people. Ultimately, buying a house is usually most people's biggest purchase in their lifetime. And being able to help be part of that is truly every day. I mean, I could sit here for a whole 2 hours and tell just stories of different folks I've been able to help in this area. So that was definitely the one thing that I love, is being able to help people, you know, purchase a home, which is usually in a home, not a house, purchase a home and make lovely memories. The one thing I hate, which has been a learning curve, especially with a newborn, learning the whole sleep schedules and stuff, is the time balance in this industry. And probably most people will say it's really, really hard to manage your time and the work-life balance in this industry, because unfortunately, and we hear everyone say, real estate never stops. Same with the mortgage industry, it never stops. So that's been the really hardest thing for me to do. But my routine and my scheduling has helped me manage that. But that would be for sure the one thing I hate.
Yeah, it's so funny you say it, because it is the truth. It's the reality. And it's so funny when I hear people say, like, no, I have all the time in the world. And I'm like, How?
I was like,
How?
Yeah.
Like, what are you? I'm so busy. Like, what are you talking about? You know, and definitely that stress too and the anxiety. You do so much with purchase business, obviously. For me, it's like, gosh, if that alone doesn't close, someone's potentially homeless. You know, it's that anxiety definitely weighs constantly. But doing the due diligence up front is such an important piece. You know, when it comes to your financial journey and setting yourself up and your family up, especially at your age, when you talk to your friends that you grew up with, went to school with, how have you been able to be somewhat of a conduit to kind of teach them things that, like, I wasn't taught in high school? You know, you were definitely not taught in college, high school, about how mortgages work and interest rates and an ARM and 15 years and what you should do. How have you taken that role on?
So I've actually, in our family, we've not had a whole lot of and especially our school, I did not have a lot of financial literacy classes. And really, like, any person that comes to me with any sort of advice, I take them on as a mentor as best I can. I mean, obviously you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink sort of situation. But I love being able to, so going back to that person who's a little younger, I think he's 23, and we were just kind of talking. He's like, I'm just not sure what I want to do. And we did get into the discussion of finances, and he's just like, I have no idea. You know, I've opened some credit cards and made some mistakes. And, you know, we got on that discussion and just giving him advice. It's just, for me, it just kind of seems natural, where knowledge is power, but for me, knowledge is not power if I can share it with other people. So just being able to take what I've learned and what I know and just share it to anybody that's willing to listen is what
Where does that trust come from? Like, to get people to trust you like that, right? Where does that start? When someone is trusting you and you're building the relationship, how are you facilitating that trust and really showcasing to them that this is not a transaction, right? This is truly you being there for them every step in the way.
Yeah. So I am an open book when it comes to life. Ask me any question, I'm going to answer it 110% honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm just open, honest, and I like to get to know people. Ultimately, it is not a transaction. You're not just a number. Always with me, you're never just a number. You know, I like to learn about your family. Actually, I have someone who helped purchase a home they're gonna be getting into the investment space. They're actually pregnant with their 5th child, and that was the whole reason why they were purchasing the home. And you know, we've been on Facebook. You know, I'm commenting on stuff. I mean, with being a new dad myself, they're actually having a girl, so I just had a girl myself. Just really being true and honest and showing care to other people. You're just not a number. You're part of the community. So, and that's, you know, how I was raised and how we are in this area.
It's the vulnerability piece. You know, I think that's one of the hardest part, because unfortunately so much in life you do get burned, but I truly feel that most people don't have bad intentions.
Correct.
And when you learn to share things with the right people, it's insane what starts to happen in your life, because one, you're sharing stuff with people that want to see you succeed. And then two, when you're starting to share your knowledge, you start to become a pillar of someone that they can trust. And that took me so many years to figure out and to understand. And people used to say, be careful who you share stuff with. And I can't help it. I'm just an open book, to your point.
Yeah.
And I love showcasing and sharing everything that I have, because somebody taught me once. They said, look, if you're able to share your wealth and knowledge, one of two things is going to happen. Either A, they're not going to be able to figure it out and do what you can do. So now you're an anomaly, which is a great thing, and you become a pillar. Or B, they do figure it out, and then you have to work harder to just keep improving your craft and your stuff, whether it's knowledge, whether it's sharing more, whatever the case may be. And that's the part to me that's so interesting and fascinating. So we're getting close towards the end of this podcast. And one of the things that we always like to focus on, and for you, it's not that long ago, which is really, really cool. And that's why I really want to know. So it's fresh in the head.
Yeah.
17, 18-year-old you, all right? Golfing away, figuring things out, scratch golfer, trying to make it on that pro circuit, right? Learning the golf courses, traveling, playing all over the place. What are a couple pieces of advice you would give to 17, 18-year-old you if you had the chance to look that person in the face right before they teed off and you were right there, maybe even the caddy, sitting next, and as soon as that person looks up, they see you, and you get to tell them two pieces of advice? What would you tell them?
First, I've never been a very patient person, but being sometimes I feel like in this business, I'm almost like the therapist for multiple different people. I did not have patience. Still, sometimes people say I'm an impatient person because I want things now. But I've definitely taken a step back and put myself in other people's shoes and think, how would they feel? How would they act? And that's really the biggest thing is have patience with yourself too. Back then which again was, 9-10 years ago, I didn't have patience with myself. I wanted things, then I wanted them the way they would be. I wanted them to be perfect, but, we're human beings. We're not perfect. So just be patient, do the best you can, and know where your heart's at. I guess that's kind of section number 2 there is, know where your heart's at. Make sure what you're going to do, your next step is not just going to benefit you, but benefit other people as well.
That is so spot on. And I appreciate you sharing that. And for the viewers at home, one of the things to focus on, to truly, truly focus on, is in your heart of hearts. You might be doing something right now that you don't love, but you might have to do it just depending on the circumstances. But I will tell you this, you truly know in your heart where you want to spend your time. And if you don't, take a step back, look in the mirror, look from a bird's eye overview, and to his point, start writing things down that you truly love to do. And God willing, what happens is you basically create it out of thin air and you turn it into something special and you manifest your journey. But if you don't write it down and you don't think it through, you're never going to have that opportunity. I appreciate you all tuning in to another episode of the Early Birds podcast. Brad Miller, I appreciate you being on here, sir, sharing your story and being vulnerable. That is another episode, and thank you guys. Take care.